evening to our parents and students of the class of 2025. We welcome you to our transition meeting to discuss enrollment and becoming a high school student in next year.
My name is Dr. Lori Fiorenza, and I'm the Director of Student Learning at Oak Park and River Forest High School. My role at Oak Park is to ensure that your students' academic experience is the very best that it can be, that it is full of learning and growing opportunities, that it is fully supported with all kinds of interventions and supports and tutoring. And we are going to share with you this evening all of the wonderful opportunities that are about to be in front of you. I know that some of you are first timers. You are transitioning your very first baby into the high school setting. Some of you have transitioned students into the high school setting already, and some of you maybe even have transitioned students into the collegiate or vocational setting. Whatever you are here with, new, old, it doesn't matter. This is a fabulous journey, and we are excited to be a part of it with you. I know that this isn't the way we would have liked to be. We would have liked to be in person. We would have liked to have been walking up and down the aisles of your auditorium, talking with you personally, shaking hands, getting to know you in a more personal setting. Unfortunately, this is where we find ourselves. I want to make sure that you know how excited we are to have your student in front of us in August. Pending everything goes well, we are looking forward to that. We are committed to your student, and they are the center of this evening. Whatever we find ourselves in, I want to make sure that you take a moment to just enjoy this journey, enjoy this time with your student. Even though it's not the best setting, it's not the grandest of times, this is an important and wonderful transition to high school. And I hope that the information we give you tonight will prepare you to really enjoy this opportunity, arm you with information to embark on a wonderful journey with us. Throughout the evening, if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in that Q&A box. We will get to those at the end of the evening. And I'm going to turn it over now to my colleague.
Good evening, parents, and welcome again. My name is Linda Parker, and I'm the Director of Student Services. Tonight, we have so much information to share with you, and some of you emailed me to ask, should my child be here too? It is perfectly okay if your child shares this experience with you, because we'll be talking about them quite a bit, but also in terms of what you as parents can do to assist your child on this journey that we're going to be taking for the 4 years we're here. Throughout the evening, we'll be referring to some individuals who you're going to become familiar with through the time that you have at Oak Park and River Forest High School. And we want to make sure you know that the people we mention are all resources for you, so that you know that we are here and you'll hear us speaking about partnering through this journey with you, because that is very important. We know that you have goals for your student and that your student has goals for themselves. And we are here to make sure that we actualize those as we work with you each of the years we have you. Staff you will get to know first. Student services, there's a team that's actually going to be working with your student throughout the time that they're at the school and helping them chart their way through each and every year. I'll talk a little bit more about those people as we go through the night. Know that these are individuals who are here to support the academic process that your student will work through for the 4 years that they're here. So we're super excited to get this started tonight.
In addition to the student services staff, the division heads are also individuals that you will want to get to know throughout not only this first initial part of your high school journey, but as well as the remaining years. The division heads can answer a number of questions for you. They are over every single content. So any questions you have about placement, challenges, any questions that you have about what's the next class your student should take, are they ready for maybe more of a challenge, do they need more assistance, you can direct all of those questions to our division heads. We'll be talking about them throughout the night as well. And at the end of the evening, we will have their email addresses. So if you have questions between now and the time you begin your journey at Oak Park and River Forest, you can reach out to any of them with specific questions.
So let's talk a little bit about what you have and how you got invited to this evening's presentation. Tonight, you will notice that we sent the information out in two different formats so that you would have the invitation to come this evening. There was an email that went out on November 13th. It went out at 4 p.m. The reason I'm giving you that specific information is because some of our parents didn't receive the email. And when talking to them, I found out it went to their spam or their junk mail folder. I need you to find that if you didn't get it, just because we will be sending more emails. And in each of the cases, when I looked, we did have the email address. So I want to make sure that you get our emails as well as our US postal mail. So again, that date was November the 13th at 4 p.m. And in that email, we sent some attachments that you're going to receive in the chat tonight and that I'm going to talk about just briefly here. We also sent a US postal mail. If you did not receive that, that may be an address issue. Our registrar can check your address to make sure that we have the correct information so that we can make sure that you don't miss any of your mail that comes from us. The mailing was only 2 sheets, one of which was a yellow planning form that was in it. I'm including that in the chat tonight. It's not yellow in the attachment that's in the chat, but when you received it in the mail, it was. That is a planning form that's going to help you in the course selection process as we go through this evening in preparation for open house on January the 19th. You also should receive in the chat here and in the email health and dental forms. Those are forms that you will take to your physician and your dentist in order to have your child in compliance with the new regulations that they have to have once becoming a freshman. An enrollment guide is included in the chat here that you did not get in advance. That's a guide that's going to help you through the entire process leading up to open house and into our building for enrollment. And then our academic catalog, which is the place where you can go to find descriptions of every single one of our classes, is located at the link that you see on the slide here. But it also has been included in the chat for you so that you will be able to hold on to these links. I know that when some of you got the letter in the mail, you didn't quite see exactly how to put the link for tonight in. Our hope is by giving you the links in the chat tonight, you're able to follow along and actually just click into what you need as we go along. So, what is coming to high school going to look like for you? We want to ensure that this is going to be the smoothest transition possible. We also know that we're talking about a transition in the midst of a pandemic that has us spending a lot of time behind screens instead of being in person. Do know that as we continue tonight, our hope is that we will be in person by the time we get through the summer and closer to when we have all of our freshman events and able to have you and your child on campus to make sure that you have that experience to see the building and to just get acclimated to your new environment. And as you're doing so, keep in mind that if for any reason we're not at the point where we're back into the building, we will have more information closer to that time to share with you about how we'll navigate through our transition time. But what we want you to hear us say as you're imagining your child, your loved one in our big high school, is that we want to make sure you're focusing on your child's wellness holistically, not just the grades they can earn to move them to their post-secondary goals, but also who they are as people and what they need on a social emotional level as well to feel well adjusted in our school building. As I said before, our school is about 3 to 4 times as big as the middle schools that our students come from. So in terms of just making decisions and changing things, we don't have as much flexibility to do that in such a big environment, but we try very, very much to make sure that our large environment feels smaller to you by making sure we build community and relationships with you. So we are going to make sure that you're aware of what the resources are on the campus, and then make sure that you know how to access those resources as you go through the time that's going through. Do know that we can imagine that sometimes, especially coming out of an event like we've had in our country, there can be a lot of anxiousness that's being felt and can creep in because so much uncertainty has faced our students. But we want you to know that we don't look to avoid Those things we look to teach our students the skills that are necessary to help them to regulate themselves and to make sure that they're handling their tolerable stress in meaningful ways. So as a family, how can you support this? Please know that as you're looking to your student as a total and complete person, we want to make sure that you're focused on some frequent check-ins while you go through the high school experience. For anyone who's ever had a teenager, you know that the conversations get very brief as they get a little bit older. But that doesn't mean they don't want to talk. They're just looking for the right question. So we always want to encourage you to ask open-ended questions that make them discuss their experience with you. So tell me what the teacher talked about in the class today and share with me that experience. Goes a little bit further than, how was your day? Good, bad. You want to make sure that you're drawing those words out from them because they do want to share. And it's something we want to make sure that they know that they can do. We want you to make sure that you're teaching some critical life lessons and reinforcing the positives that are happening for them. So often we can start to focus on those things that aren't working and we miss the many things that are working. So we want to make sure students know how to focus in on that and not just dwell on those things that may not be going the way they want them to go. When things aren't proceeding in the manner in which they want, there are school personnel that they can see to make sure that they're getting their questions answered. We encourage the student to speak to all of the adults in the building and ask the questions that they have. This is their chance to step up and advocate for themselves so that they can see all of the benefits that come from that relationship. We also want them to know, and we want you to know, that this is a process and you want to trust us in the process. We've been doing this for many years now, and we want to partner with you for the success of your student. We know that they can be the very best coming through our high school, and we're there to ensure that that is exactly the experience that they have.
A successful academic transition begins with this course selection process. The course selection process includes many decisions for you and your child. You know your child best, and we need your help facilitating that conversation at home about the composite of courses that are going to best stimulate and support your student's academic and social emotional health. So for example, just because you have an option to take honors English, but you know your student doesn't really like to read, struggles to get homework done on time, honors English may not be the best option. However, your student may be incredibly passionate about mathematics. They may love to work figures and numbers, so pursuing an honors math course may be a better option. You really want to consider how that balance looks for your student. Some factors to consider include their motivation, academic habits, resilience, passion and personal interest, future plans. If an 8th grader knows what their future plans are, I know that they may change, but really talking to your student about where their interest lies and what they hope for their future. And then any co-curricular things your student does. Are they in the band? Do they participate in travel sports? All of these things are things to consider when looking at that balance of courses across their 8-period day. So some questions to consider. Some things to talk about relative to what do you know about your child? What do you know about your student? And maybe these are some things, some sentence starters to get you talking at home. What is your child's capacity to read independently without distraction? How much time does your child have for homework? How likely is your child to keep up with homework? What academic habits does your child have to organize, to plan, to manage their time without a lot of prompting? How important are those extracurricular activities or those sports to your child? And finally, how likely is your child to just read for pleasure as a habit or as a hobby? So these are some things to consider as you're looking at the composite of courses that you will want to work with your student to select. The course placements you're going to receive in the mail are based on multiple pieces of data that are displayed in the slide. Our placement teams meet to review and discuss all of this information: fall map, STAR in reading and math, If your student has taken a world language exam and any current classes, recent grades your student has coming from that middle school, they're going to discuss all of the information. And the discussions are really to answer two questions. One, does your student need an intervention to accelerate their learning so that they're on grade level? Or are they currently operating at or above grade level expectations? In our math courses and our world language courses, placement teams utilize the test data to really look at whether or not your student has mastered the concepts necessary to move to that next level. So those are things that they will be looking at. So for example, a student that's in Algebra 1 in middle school would theoretically go to geometry as a freshman. However, if the test scores show that there's a weakness in algebra, it may be advised for the student to retake algebra so that those skills are mastered and polished as a good foundation as they move along. It's very important to us that your student is academically successful, that they're challenged at the right level and the right pace. And so again, specific details for each academic division is going to be shared in the open house in January. If you have any questions, again, we will talk about how you reach out to those division heads. There is an option in our course placement change form. So if for some reason you get a recommendation to take Algebra 1 over again, however, if you don't want your student to do that, there are some options, and you will use the course placement change form to make those requests. It may mean a summer school class, it may mean some different things, but just know that you have the option. While that recommendation is coming, you have some options, you are not held to that. The other thing to really be mindful of is that these are recommendations based on data. However, your student is more than a data point, and we are aware of that. So don't hesitate to have conversation with the division head, with your student's counselor, as you really look at that course selection and the composite of what your student's schedule will look like holistically. We want you to feel comfortable. We want you to really know that we recognize you are the experts when it comes to what your child is capable of, what your child's passions are. We're here to help navigate the beginning of this high school career. So don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us with those questions. Our course placement process, as I said, is really focused on the question of, is the student at grade level, or is the student lacking some skills and needs some intervention or some support in order to get on grade level? If your student is in that realm where they might demonstrate a need to strengthen a skill, they could be recommended for a transitions course. This is a course that's going to focus on specific skill sets, specific strategies to pull your student to that grade level ability. That doesn't mean that your student is going to be in transition classes their whole 4 years. It may mean that they just need a boost in that freshman year in English or math to make sure that they are able to progress nicely on grade level throughout the rest of their 4 years. You may also see college prep or honors courses recommended. These are courses for students that are currently at grade level or operating just above grade level. Again, lots of questions about the difference between college prep and honors. College prep is the class that every freshman typically takes. An honors class is going to challenge and stretch your student in that they're above grade level some, significantly or some, and can really handle not just the challenge with the curriculum, but also the grit, the perseverance, the resilience it takes to keep the pace of an honors class. Let me clarify that we are having honors classes next year. That is not part of the plan to collapse those classes next year. So your student will have access to honors classes if that is part of that recommendation. But again, remember, you still will have that form. If you have questions or concerns, would like to challenge your student in a different fashion, there will be that form available to make those requests.
So let's talk a little bit about the individuals who are here on campus to actually support your student through this journey. At the beginning, I spoke to you about our student services teams, and I want to just tell you a little bit more about them. Every student is assigned to a PSS team, PSS standing for Pupil Support Services Team. In that team, every student has a counselor, has a dean, and has a social worker. When you received your mailing, you should have received that your counselor's name and ID number for the student was attached to that letter. Some of you were able to go into our family access system and see it as well. If for some reason you don't have your counselor's name or your student's ID number, you are able to reach out to our registrar at registrar@oprfhs.org, and that information can be obtained. But each of our PSS teams work with our students in 3 domains. They're working to make sure that they are clear on what their academic pursuits are and working to make sure that they feel supported at each level of the courses that they're taking. They work with them on their personal and social, emotional concerns, just making sure that they feel balanced, they feel regulated, and they feel as though they can conquer each of the days they need to within their high school experience. And then they also work on the career explorations. So they're making sure that whatever goals they have set for themselves, they have the research behind it to make sure they feel properly prepared by the courses that they're taking and the activities that they're participating in our school. Please know that at our school, we pride ourselves on having something for everyone. And it doesn't have to be the same thing for everyone. We have things from the arts to activities to sports clubs to just a myriad of different activities and clubs that they can become a part of to feel more a part of our community, and again, to shrink our large school into a smaller one for them. So the PSS teams can surely direct your student to all of these things once they are students at the school.
In addition to those PSS teams, another wonderful support at Oak Park River Forest High School is the tutoring center. It's something that I have found to be unique about Oak Park, and it is an open tutoring center from 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily, where every content area is represented. So if your student needs tutoring in math, English, whether it's in a transition class, a college prep class, an honors class, and even in some of our upper level AP classes, the tutoring center is available with tutors who will support and work with your student. Students don't need a referral. They don't need to do anything. They can just drop in. They can access this whenever they feel like they need to. In addition to our content, we also have executive functioning tutoring, which is support for students who struggle with time management, organization. Now that we've been virtual, we have conducted a virtual tutoring center. And there are a number of students that are struggling, probably and adults, with executive functioning relative to keeping up with their emails. Students are getting mass amounts of emails. And so getting some support, some suggestions, some ideas from an EF tutor has been really helpful for a number of students. So this is a great support that we want to make sure you know about. Your student can drop in at any point. And should we at some point be virtual, we have a virtual tutoring center, but in person is our best hopes.
So let's focus a little bit about the course selection process. What you see here are the graduation requirements to obtain a diploma at Oak Park and River Forest High School. These are the minimum number of credits necessary to achieve that goal. What I want you to recognize in this slide is that 1 credit equals 1 semester graded coursework. So in the case where it says English, you need 8 credits. That means that there are 4 full years, 1 semester each, of English that is required. As you look at what the requirements are, you will also notice the section that says at the bottom of the first column, electives. Electives are courses that allow students to broaden their experience in whatever course they want to take that we offer at the school to earn those credits. Though it says there that you only need 7 credits, here's a little secret. Each year, students take 7 credits per semester, which means in a school year, they can really earn 14 credits each school year. If you calculate out for 4 years, that means that students have the ability to earn 56 credits before they graduate from OPARC. That gives them so much time to actually do different types of courses that we offer in all of these different divisions and areas so that they can broaden their experience as they're at the school. There's no reason to leave our high school and not know what interests you, as long as you've taken advantage of some of the opportunities that we offer. The counselors, when they do your schedule with you, will actually help to guide you through the graduation requirements when you do your 4-year plan, so that you can make sure that not only are you capturing what's required, but also capturing what interests the child most. So when we look at selecting courses, some things to keep in mind. Students have an 8-period day. Included in that day is a lunch period. And yes, even in our remote environment, a lunch period is required. We also have an English and math requirement in the freshman year. So as you will see on that yellow form, that is actually white if you just clicked on it in the chat, the planning form, you'll notice that the sample guide at the bottom shows you an English and a math in the top 2 boxes to allow you to fill in which English or math to take. And then you'll notice that you have a lot more choices on that paper as you go down. PE and health is a requirement. That's for the entire year, 1 semester of PE, 1 semester of health. And those are listed on the sheet as well. Course options in our document are going to be actually emailed to you, and we're going to try to mail them to you. The course options placement document is what Ms. Fiorenza talked about in terms of just making sure that you know what the data points recommend you for. And those are going to help to guide you through what courses you select on your planning guide. Please remember, all freshmen are given a study hall period, and that is to assist with their studying and getting acclimated to the high school level of work that's going to be expected of them. There are a couple of exceptions to the study hall, and there's only these exceptions. That is, if a student wants to take a music or acting course, that can substitute for the study hall. And then if there is one of the transition support courses that is offered on the course options placement, that too can take the place of the study hall period. Unfortunately, there are no other courses that can take the place of the study hall. We consider this a very important part of the freshman day as they learn how to get used to becoming a high school student. So when you think about preparing for course selection night, and course selection night happens on open house night, that is January the 19th. It begins at 6 p.m. You're going to watch your email at the first week of January for those exam scores and the course options placement form. Again, if we had any trouble getting email to you, you want to make sure that we have not gone into your spam mailbox, because we're going to try to do a huge mailing through email the first week of January to get this information directly into your hand. You want to make sure that you use that document to have conversations with your student with just those points that Ms. Fiorenza brought up to you, like considering what courses are most appropriate for your child. On the 19th, you want to make sure that as you are at our virtual open house, you have these things with you. That course options placement form that you're going to get in the email, the enrollment guide that we put in the chat, the academic catalog that is available through the chat and also on our website, the completed planning form, the yellow form that we keep mentioning, that should be completed to the best of your ability on that evening of January the 19th, so that you'll be prepared to share those selections with the counselor. One thing to note, we have an expectation of all families to have the yellow planning sheet completed and ready to submit on the open house evening. If you know that your student has an IEP and you have the expectation of a transition meeting, those meetings happen after our open house has concluded in February and in March. At that time, you will be finalizing the courses that were requested at the January open house. So all families should plan on submitting courses, and those transition meetings that also guide that selection process will be used to finalize what has been selected. This way, you're included in our number all the way from the beginning. So our virtual open house night, again, is January the 19th. It's from 6 to 8 p.m. And we'll talk a little bit about what to expect that evening.
So to start the evening off from 6 to 7, each division head will give a 5-minute presentation. It'll be in a webinar format, and the link to that webinar will be found in the documents that you will receive. You'll click into that link, and each division head will spend 5 minutes explaining different things to you about the division, about how to make a decision as to what course is appropriate. They'll save 20 minutes for some time for questions. So as you can imagine, that's not a lot of time to get through several hundred people who may have questions. So I would encourage you to reach out to a division head if you have a student-specific question. If you get your test scores or those recommendations at the beginning of January and you say, you know, I have a question about math, or what can I do if I really want my student to accelerate beyond this course, reach out to that division head ahead of time so that that evening you don't run the risk of not getting your question answered and then meeting with the counselor and maybe not having all the information you would like to have.
And then also that evening will be the course selection process with your counselor. So you will notice that a link has been put into the chat that is a flyer for the open house evening. On that flyer, you will notice a link to the division heads meeting that Ms. Fiorenza just spoke about. And then also the counselors have individual links for each of their meetings. This is why it's important to know who your counselor is so that you attend the correct meeting on this evening. On that evening, they will be meeting with you starting at 7, and it's a group format. So all parents will be in with that counselor who are on that caseload, and they'll be talking to you about the exact process of selecting the courses. If you, for some reason, don't hold on to the links from this evening, do know that the flyer is also listed on page 3 of the enrollment guide that you received. And so you will always have that at your disposal as well. On this evening, you will be responsible for turning in your course selections. So we are going to be using a Google form, because what we usually do is use the yellow form and have you turn that in. Since we're not in person, we'll actually have to use the Google form to make sure that you complete it. So you're going to just transfer what's on the Google form onto the what's on the yellow planning form onto the Google form on that evening. Usually our open house night is a huge event at the school. We have everything open. We do tours. We're able to show you a different list of clubs and teams and activities and different things that are happening within our building. Because we're going to be on a virtual platform, we won't get a chance to actually walk through the building and see everything in January, but we have put together an interactive extracurricular catalog that will be available that evening. So that'll be an opportunity for your student to kind of look through the activities that are offered and make some decisions as to what interests them at that time. And so we want you to look forward to that as well. The whole evening should last from 6 to 8. If for some reason you do not have specific questions for the division head or do not need to speak to them one-to-one, you want to make sure that you have a chance to look at that catalog during that time in the evening. So the academic catalog that you have received in the links, that one is very important for your entire journey of 4 years at the school. Huskies know their catalog because that catalog is full of a lot of information. Not only does it list all of the descriptions for every course, but it also has all of our district policies, procedures, dates for when things happen in terms of dropping classes, adding classes. You'll notice there's a post-secondary planning guide there and a credit checklist. The graduation requirements are in there again. And we want to make sure that if ever you have questions, you've referenced them to the catalog as well. So do make sure you spend some time getting familiar with that resource as well. The online enrollment process is something that all students have to take advantage of each year that they're here at our school. So every year, students have to re-enroll to the high school, and that always will include a residency verification process. The good thing is that we've already transitioned to this being an online process even before it became this situation where everything has been an online process. So there are directions that will come to you by email in May, and it's going to include something called a SNAP code that's going to get you started with the process of registering your student. Please remember that your student is not officially registered at the high school until they complete this enrollment process. So we want to make sure that all parents can complete this process, and hopefully by early summer have everything submitted and have everything processed. So the other forms that you've received in the chat and that you also received online are the medical and the dental examination forms. We've included the blank copies of these so that you have an opportunity to take those to your physician and your dentist and have them completed so that you can turn those into our school nurse. So there are some caveats to this form. We are not allowed to take a physical that was done before May 1st of the 8th grade year, so in 2021. The reason for this is that it's required to be a new physical for when the student is coming to the high school, and the earliest that the state will allow us to take that is May 1st. So do make sure that you make those doctor's appointments so that you can get that information turned into us in a great time. You have until October the 15th of 2021 to get those turned in. But you want to remember, if you have a student who's interested in a fall sport, there is a sports physical that is also necessary to participate. And you want to make sure that you turn that one in for any fall athletes as close to May 1st as possible. One thing to recognize, your school physical can also be used as your sports physical as long as your doctor checks the box that mentions that it's for an interscholastic athlete as well, which is at the bottom of the form where they sign. There is also a dental requirement now for all freshmen. So we want to make sure that your student knows to get that information in as well. The good thing about this is they get their entire freshman year before that is due. It is due May the 15th of 2022. So that is not a mistake in the date. You want to make sure that your student sees a dentist at some point during that freshman year and gets that turned in for us. If for some reason you don't have access to the links that you see here in our presentation, these forms are also available on our website at the health services page.
So summer school this year is run by Jason Lee. He is our summer school coordinator. Summer school is June 14th to July 22nd. Monday through Thursday is when classes are held. There will be no class July 5th, but class will be held on July 9th in that space. The summer school catalog will be available at open house, and it will be posted online either shortly before or shortly after that open house date. Now, you may be asking yourself, why would my 8th grader going to the high school want to take summer school? What is that purpose? So there are some math bump up options. As I shared with you before, when you get that recommendation, the math division head, Dr. Julie Fry, has created a wonderful interactive math tool where you can go and see the course your student is currently in. Click on that and it'll take you to the 3 options or the options that are available at the next level. You can click on those things and find out if you need a bump up, if you want to move your student, what do you need to do? And so those are offered during our summer school opportunity. In addition, we have art foundations, and I will tell you that the sections of art foundations are limited, and they are limited by FTE and funding. We can only have so many courses, and they fill up very quickly. So if you have a student that is very passionate about art and is really wanting to get into that freshman year and start taking art electives, you'll want to consider a summer art foundations option if that's available. We also have financial literacy and digital literacy as options for summer school as well. So again, you'll be looking for that catalog around the open house date, and then Mr. Lee will also let you know at that time when the actual opportunity will be to register for those classes. So be looking for those dates and that information. Finally, a copy of our presentation and the Google form to request a course placement change is going to be available at the OPRFHS.org website under parents/incoming freshmen. We will post this. You can go back and look at any of the information, get clarification if you need. There's lots of good tools about number of credits you need and how to plan out your freshman's first year experience. So please make sure you use that if you need. I believe we also have on the next slide the email addresses for all of our division heads and our contact information too. So if you need Ms. Parker or myself, if you have a question and you're not able to get an answer from a division head or the director of athletics or the director of student activities, you can reach out to Ms. Parker or myself. We'll be happy to answer your questions. But probably more important than myself are these division heads. And so we have included their email addresses for your use. Please feel free to reach out to them if you have any questions, and they can definitely help guide you in making sure that your students' academic selections are appropriate for your student and their pursuits. I just want to thank you all for taking time this evening to join us and learn more about this registration and course selection process. Again, despite our current situation and circumstances, I am excited and optimistic about seeing your student in person in August. This is a wonderful opportunity, and if I can help you in any way, please do not hesitate to reach out.
And again, we are so looking forward to having your student at our school. Do not worry, we are going to make sure that it is the best experience ever. And we're going to make sure that you have the opportunity to have a true high school experience as you were expecting. So thank you for joining us this evening. It has been a complete pleasure, and we look forward to working with you in the very near future.